Here we are. Welcome back to the Penetration Testing Gauntlet, December 13, 2025. Today we're gonna hack the third machine in the live stream. By the way, if you type in bang Discord, you can join the Discord channel so that you'll know exactly when I'll be going live on Twitch. Then all of the live streams on Twitch will be carefully edited and then put back onto YouTube to the Primary and Security Global YouTube channel. But without further ado, let's hack Cap on Hack the Box, which is a free vulnerable machine, because the other ones that we did until now weren't. You have to buy a subscription, a monthly or yearly subscription. Now, just like I said, you have to connect to the VPN network. I'm not going to repeat this from here on out. You should be familiar with it. So click on machines, stop any machine if it's active at the moment, and look for Cap, which is another retired machine. Spawn it, open a terminal with Ctrl+Shift+T, sudo so that we don't have to type in sudo every 2 seconds. Let's start typing in the nmap command to see which ports are open with SV, S, C, -T5. These will scan the top 1000 ports. It's the only ones we're interested in. This is a very easy box, so there will not be hidden ports. There will not be ports that are, non-standard, but you will always have to scan all of them with -B-. Yeah, with -B-. All 65,535 of them. Plus 1. Because in 16 bits, we have 65,536 values. -1 because port 0 is not usable. Copy the IP to clipboard. Ctrl+Shift+V and start it. Now it'll find port 21, 22, and 80, which are respectively FTP, SSH, and HTTP, right? VS FTPD3, if it had been 2.3, it would have been vulnerable to a backdoor exploit. Now it is by experience. SSH is open, which is very nice because we will be able to have a shell that's more stable, but the OpenSSH version itself is, not old enough for it to have any workable exploit. And then we have GUnicorn for the HTTP server. Let's see if FTP is accessible by an anonymous user. Name, login failed. Quit. No way, Jose. So let's take a look at the HTTP server on port 80. Security dashboard. What's this? And who's Nathan? Well, you have to take a look around, see what's there. IP config, network status. Well, this is interesting. And number of packets, 0. There's a download button, which downloaded a PCAP file. We can open this with Wireshark or TCP dump, but Wireshark, it's easier to use. File, open. It's in downloads, PCAP. This doesn't seem to have anything. 24 bytes. Doesn't seem like it has anything in it. Let's see. Downloads. Yeah, there's nothing in it. 1.pcap. But looky here. Data 1. I wonder if data 2, data 3. Oh, what's this? Number of packets. Something's changed. This is an IDOR, an insecure direct object reference. Now we try downloading it again. This time we have 1.2 kilobytes. That's interesting. Again, ooh, sometimes we have more stuff, and we'll see the contents of the packets here. TCP port 80, follow TCP stream. Nothing here. I guess still nothing. Let's close this. So we downloaded 1, we downloaded 2. We tried following the TCP stream for both. We didn't find anything. So 1 was 14 packets. 2 was 15. Yeah. 0 has 72. I think this is the winning one. This has got much more data. Wireshark. Open. 0. Let's try following the TCP stream here too. And try to look closer. Now we see that there is an FTP login. When we did the follow TCP stream, we followed some HTTP requests, but FTP is not encrypted. So there's FTP user Nathan. Please specify the password, pass, and this is the password for the Nathan user. Now the password, let's save this. Nathan. It's Nathan, and the password is so I guess we called, what was the IP again? Okay. So we just found the user flag. Get user.txt. And there it is. That's the user flag. Let's see if SSH works too. Looks like it. Okay, we got a more stable shell for the Nathan user. Sudo -l to see what it can execute on the machine. Nathan might not run sudo on cap. Okay. That's the user flag. That's the Linux file system. And so we got the foothold for the cap machine and the flag for the Nathan user. Now we can move on to the privilege escalation part of this hacking journey, I guess. Since this machine is quite easy, it'll be a piece of cake. Now let's download LeanPiece, which is the classic enumeration tool to perform privilege escalation on Linux machines. We can use curl, but directly and run it, but usually it's not possible to download files from the internet, so we'll have to move it from one machine to the other. Now, on recent versions of Kali, you will have LeanPiece already available, which is that one, leanpiece.sh. So we can serve a Python server on port, for example, 3000, right? Our IP is, well, it's not really necessary now, is it? We can just use SCP. SCP, copy leanpiece.sh to Nathan at, what was it? 10.129.1397 on the home directory, I guess. No. Let's do that on the TMP directory. Ctrl+Shift+V. All right. And now we'll find it on the TMP directory. There you go. There it is. SCP is a tool that works via SSH, used to copy file from one machine to the other. Now, the syntax is structured this way. This is the source file that we have on the Kali machine. You use SSH copy means, or secure copy. This is the source file and this is the target file. Now, when you define the remote endpoint to save it to, you tell it the user, the host name, and then colon and the path you want to save it to, right? Open SSH secure file copy. So yeah, this isn't very clear now, is it? But yeah, SCP, source, and then target. But that was the syntax that you need to use. Maybe there are some examples down there. No, there aren't. Just take this in mind. Now we can copy files the other way around. I don't think so. I think my SSH server is down on Kali. Sudo service SSH status. Nah, it's disabled and it's off. It will not work. We can only copy stuff to the machine. We cannot access this Kali machine because it's disabled. And also by default, password authentication is disabled on Kali. You have to enable it. I covered that on my... We can cover this at a later time in another video. But yeah, let's say we want to copy another file on the Nathan machine under the TMP directory. I don't know. We want to save... Let's do echo hello world hello.txt, right? Got hello, right? We can do scp hello.txt and then to Nathan, what was it? 10.129.1397, and then we have to tell it after the colon where to save it to. TMP hello, you can call it another way, test file.txt. Now we go back to the machine and we see there the test file. We print it to the standard output, and you know, that's how you save files. I mean, you could have done it another way if SSH is not available. You could also whip up Python server on port 3000, for example, right? And then you use wget http our IP 10.10.15.41 on port 3000, of course, and the file, what was it called? I don't remember. hello.txt. And there you go, hello.txt. Okay, let's launch LeanPeas. Now LeanPeas says that anything that is red or yellow will have a 95% likelihood that it's a privilege escalation vector. Yeah, it's been developed by an Italian dude. He's called Sir Broccoli. Now, every time you do this, you'll have to read absolutely everything. Now, the more times you read this, and the quicker you will get to the heart of the matter. But now, having done this many times before, you'll find that there's a particular file that is not very secure. And it's a Python 3.8 cap_setuid program that has been misconfigured. There you go. Files with capabilities. User bin Python 3.8 cap setuid cap net bind service EIP. According to documentation that you might find on the internet, cap_setuid allows to the process to obtain privileges without having set the bit in SUID, the super user ID, for programs like sudo that would allow you to obtain higher privilege levels, a higher privilege. If you look for cap_setuid on the internet, you will eventually get to read something like this. Now, don't get confused. The machine is called cap or capture, just like we've seen with Wireshark. But here, it talks about capabilities, what it can do. What can Python do? It can set the user ID from a Python command line interface, for example, or via a script, just like we'll do in a second, which might look complicated, but really it's very stupid. It's very, very stupid. Let's create a new Python file. Import OS set UID to 0, because if you type in ID, you'll see that our UID is 1001, right? So via Python, which has special capabilities which are misconfigured, we set the UID to 0, which is the UID of root, if you remember, from the Linux course that is still not available in English. God, it's 10 hours. It's a course that lasts 10 hours. I have to re-record it in its entirety. Man, can't wait to do that. Oof. If we grep for root, we see that the UID, the user ID for root, is 0. So that's what we're doing here. We set the UID to 0. And then we launch a bin bash. Well, we just launched the bash binary. After having set the user ID to 0, which I repeat, is the user ID that belongs to root because it's in the CAPabilities of Python on the system that has been misconfigured. It's pretty easy, right? Isn't it? Now, type in Python exploit. Python 3.8 exploit. Boom, and we're root. ID, that's because we set the UID to 0. And so now we're root. Because Python 3.8 specifically is misconfigured. And now if we go to the root directory, we can also get the root flag. This was just a very problematic misconfiguration error with Python. Nothing more. And another very problematic information leakage through which we were able to get the Nathan SSH password. There's also a password reuse issue because Nathan used the FTP password as the SSH password. And he also allowed access via the SSH password to the server because you can also set SSH to be only accessible via public key rather than password, which is not recommended. So this was quite easy machine, just like the previous ones that we did on the channel, like Blue, Mirai, and Grandpa, despite Grandpa being very unstable and very frustrating. So for the next one, we'll be hacking a vulnerable machine, which is part of the penetration testing gauntlet that we're doing today, December 13, 2025. So I'll take another 5 minutes and then we'll move on to the ICA vulnerable machine. Thanks for having watched the video through the end and for being on stream. In the next video, we're gonna hack our, I think first, no, it's probably the second vulnerable machine on the Prime Radiant Security Global channel. So see you then. Bye.